Welcome, listeners, but take heed. We will say whatever we need to share our knowledge, thoughts, and joy, and even things that do annoy. So join us now, but be aware. We have a tendency to swear. We'll dial it back a little bit.
But frankly, we don't give a shit.
Welcome to Just Keep Rowling, a Harry Potter book movie compare and contrast podcast. I'm Ellen, and Sicky McSickerson over there is Kayde.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. I just have the plague.
Her voice is going to be a little scratchy this episode.
Yeah, don't mind me. It's my sexy voice.
I don't know about you, but I'm really turned on right now. Anywho, let's just keep rolling right into our rolling rehash. In our last episode, we compared Chapter 7 of Sorcerer's Stone, The Sorting Hat, with the corresponding film scenes. We saw Harry, Ron, Hermione, Draco, and Susan Bones...
Yay, nepotism.
...getting sorted, met a few other students, teachers, and ghosts, and got our first real glimpse of the inside of Hogwarts in all its M.C. Escher Mario Brothers level glory. We talked about how the movie made some weird changes, like having Filch ask Dumbledore to remind the students that the third floor corridor was off limits, how this was the start of giving Hermione other characters lines, and how sad we were that Peeves was omitted. We also decided that the Sorting Hat sounded drunk.
I was very drunk. Luckily, I don't sound drunk at all.
Nope, not even a little.
That's a lie. Anyway.
Dirty, dirty lie.
During episode 7, The Slurring Hat, one of our Potter ponderings was to wonder what your thoughts on the obvious bias of staff members against certain houses, namely Slytherin, but also Hufflepuff.
Karlee had a great response to this Potter pondering. She said, I understand the bias, a little bit of liking your own house more than others. I mean, if you lived in the dorm room at your school for all 7 years, they truly become your family. So it makes sense to have an attachment to that house. That being said, I do think it is unfair that teachers put biases in their students' heads about Hufflepuffs not being smart and being the throwaway house. I also think it's wrong that people dislike Slytherins because they are mean.
Yeah, and Sam said, I think it is understandable for the teachers to be biased against some of the houses. As far as we know, almost all of them attend Hogwarts, so obviously their house is like family to them. But it's also not justified if teachers let that come in between the education and be biased on giving or taking points. As far as I remember, only Snape used to do that.
Yeah. In general, the series tends to make out that all Slytherins are bad and all Hufflepuffs are stupid. And Ravenclaw doesn't even get a lot of attention, but at least it's acknowledged that they're the smart ones.
Mm-hmm.
And since the majority of the main characters are Gryffindor, it kind of makes me think that the perspective is just all about how awesome they are, because it's from Gryffindor perspective. And I think it's really easy for those biases to transfer to the fans.
Yeah.
Which really isn't fair, because each house genuinely has their own real worth.
Yeah. And, you know, with Slytherin, I mean, yeah, there are some dicks there, but there's dicks everywhere. It always strikes me that they just get the bad rap for being the assholes.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of sad that the best defense that you can come up with is that there are dicks everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, because undoubtedly the book series and the movies made out the Slytherins to be dicks, and it shouldn't be that way because you're Slytherin and you're awesome. We know a lot of awesome people that fall into the Slytherin category, and they just, to tell the story, they just chose to focus on the negative side.
Yeah.
Our other one was, what do you think about book Dumbledore versus movie Dumbledore? Which do you prefer and why?
The responses we got for this one seemed to be fairly evenly split, the preference between book and movie Dumbledore.
Yeah, having a staunch preference of book Dumbledore, it really... No. But it really interested me to see that several people preferred movie Dumbledore over book Dumbledore. And the general consensus there was that there was a lack of detail about Dumbledore's character in the movies that made him less controversial.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think that Dumbledore had a tendency to use people without giving them all of the information that they needed. And the movie kind of eliminated that perspective because movie Dumbledore wasn't written to be as omniscient as book Dumbledore.
Yeah.
And that kind of took away the perspective that he was holding out information because he didn't seem to have it. And that's why I prefer Book Dumbledore, because we just know so much more about him.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he is flawed.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make him not a good character. Actually, if anything, flaws can make people better characters in stories.
For sure. As always, thank you for sharing your responses to our Potter Ponderings.
Yeah, for real. You guys offer up some really great insights, and we want you to keep them coming.
Our trivia question last week was, where do you find a bezoar, with the code word potions? If you answered in the stomach of a goat, then you were correct.
Congratulations to Val Crick for getting the answer correct.
That's why she's an asset to our trivia team.
Indeed. So I didn't realize this until a few months ago, but bezoars are an actual thing.
Yeah.
They're basically giant hairballs.
Ew.
My husband saw one in a museum in Montreal and sent me a picture of it because he was just like, she'll appreciate this. It's Harry Potter. It's a bezoar. And
That's love.
Yeah, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'll post the picture up on Facebook so you guys can see what an actual bezoar looks like.
I gotta say though, man, if you gotta save me from poison by making me eat a hairball, just let me die. I'm cool.
I'd miss you though. I
Well,
might shove it down your throat.
rude. I feel like I have a bezoar down my throat already right now.
But you sound sexy though.
I do. Let's just keep rolling though, right into Chapter 8, The Potions Master, and the corresponding film scenes.
Chapter 8, The Potions Master. Classes start the next day, and everyone stares at Harry in the hallways, which is really distracting while he's trying to maneuver all the staircases, trick doorways, and in general just trying to navigate Hogwarts with the moving portraits, suits of armor, and ghosts, though some of them are helpful. Peeves the Poltergeist is the opposite of helpful, and likes to send students the wrong way or play pranks on them. But worse than Peeves is the caretaker, Mr. Filch. Harry and Ron got on his bad side when they were lost, and Mr. Filch found them trying to force through a door that ended up being to the Forbidden Corridor. Filch owns a cat the students hate, Mrs. Norris, that patrols for him and will fetch him when she catches a student breaking a rule. Harry finds his class a lot more challenging than he expected. He studies the night skies, stars, and planets, he has herbology 3 times a week with Professor Sprout, and gets bored in History of Magic, the only class taught by a ghost, Professor Binns. The charms teacher is Professor Flitwick, a tiny man who has to stand on a pile of books to see over his desk. He falls off of them when he reaches Harry's name on roll call. Professor McGonagall is strict and clever, and gives them a talking to at the start of Transfiguration. After warning them about the challenges in the class and her expectations, she transforms her desk into a pig and back. The first years are very excited to get started, but soon realize it's much more difficult than it looks. They take a lot of notes and then start trying to turn a match into a needle. Hermione is the only person who manages to make any difference to her match. Everyone had really been looking forward to Defense Against the Dark Arts, but Professor Quirrell's class ends up being a joke. His classroom smells like garlic, and he won't tell them how he fought off a zombie that he claims earned him his turban as a thank you. Harry is glad to realize that he is not miles behind everyone else, because there was so much to learn. On Friday, Harry and Ron are happy that they are able to make it to the Great Hall for breakfast without getting lost at all. They go over their schedule and realize they have double potions with the Slytherins. Ron tells Harry he heard that Snape favors the Slytherins, and Harry wishes that McGonagall favored the Gryffindors, because she gave them a ton of homework to do. The mail arrives by owl, and Harry is pleased to see Hedwig deliver his first letter. The note is from Hagrid inviting him to tea that afternoon. Harry writes his response on the back and sends Hedwig off with it. They head to Potions, which ends up being the worst class. Harry quickly realizes that Snape absolutely hates him. He starts the class by taking attendance, and when he reaches Harry's name, he pauses and mocks Harry's fame. After sharing his expectations for the class, and says he expects that they will be a big bunch of dunderheads, Snape then asks Harry several difficult questions that Harry is not able to answer. Hermione, who had her hand raised the whole time, stands up with her hand in the air, and Harry tells Snape he should try asking her. Snape is not amused and scolds him for his cheek. Throughout the lesson, he criticizes pretty much everyone except for Malfoy. He even blames Harry when Neville messes up his own potion and melts the cauldron. Harry is feeling pretty low by the time they leave potions and doesn't understand why Snape hates him so much. Ron goes with Harry to tea with Hagrid, and they get to meet his big black boarhound, Fang. Hagrid serves them tea and rock cakes, which nearly break their teeth, but they pretend to enjoy them as they tell Hagrid all about their first week. Hagrid also doesn't like Mr. Filch and Mrs. Norris, and reassures Harry that Professor Snape doesn't really like any of the students. Harry tries to insist that Snape seems to really hate him, and Hagrid tries to deny it, though he won't quite look at Harry when he does. Hagrid asks Ron about Charlie, and while Ron is telling him about Charlie's work with the dragons, Harry finds a news article about a break-in at Gringotts. He realizes that it happened on the same day he was there with Hagrid, and discovers that the vault broken into had been emptied earlier that day. Harry points this out to Hagrid, who definitely avoids looking at him this time. Harry wonders if the thief had been there to steal the grubby package that Hagrid removed and where it is now. He also wonders if Hagrid knows something about Snape that he isn't telling Harry.
Okay, it's my turn with my sexy voice. In the movie, this scene opens on the castle and cuts to Harry and Ron running into a classroom, apparently late. As Ron is expressing relief that they wouldn't have to see the look on Professor McGonagall's face for showing up late, the cat on the desk leaps off and transforms into the professor. Ron is impressed, but McGonagall is not, and lectures them to be on time and get to their seats. The next scene starts with all of the first years sitting in the potions room as Professor Snape makes his billowy entrance and explains the expectations to succeed for the select few that will be able to. He describes what he will be able to teach the capable students and stops when he sees Harry taking notes and calls him out, assuming he is not paying attention. He quizzes him in front of the whole class about potion ingredients, ignoring Hermione's raised hand. When Harry cannot answer, he shames him for being famous, to Malfoy's delight. It cuts to the Great Hall, where Seamus is trying to turn water into rum until it blows up in his face. The mail arrives, delivered by owls. Harry doesn't get anything delivered, but borrows Ron's newspaper. Neville receives a remember-all, and the smoke inside of it turns red, indicating that he forgot something. Harry learns from the paper that Gringotts was broken into, but that nothing was taken because the vault in question, number 713, had been emptied earlier that day. Harry realizes that that is the vault that he and Hagrid went to.
You know, all things considered, you made it through that better than I thought you were going to.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised myself.
I mean,
actually.
You don't sound like you, but we're just going to keep rolling no matter what. So in the book, the chapter starts out with more of a description of how difficult it is to get around the castle without getting lost. Because of, like, the moving portraits and the suits of armor that seem to move and the staircases.
Yeah.
There's so many of them. And then, of course, you have trick doors and then Peeves.
Yeah.
Who will never miss a moment to send a kid the wrong way if he can.
Right, exactly, especially Ickle Firsties.
Firsties.
I missed him in the movies. Yet again, I wish they would have kept him, honestly.
I hope like that. More than them remaking the movies, I want them to just re-edit them with everything that they shot.
Right?
That's what I want them to do, because
I'd like the 3-hour director's cut,
right,
for sure.
And, I mean, they have Peeves. They have that footage.
Yeah.
Make it.
Yeah.
Everybody will rebuy that movie.
Right.
Well, maybe not everybody, but I will.
Right. And we're the only ones who matter, so there's
Clearly.
that, obviously.
And all of our listeners.
Well, yes, because they're the best. Clearly.
So aside from Peeves being out of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, they do illustrate that Ron and Harry got lost, and Harry does tell McGonagall that he got lost. They got lost in the movie.
Yeah, they show up to Transfiguration late, don't they?
Yeah, they walk in and they see the cat sitting on the desk, so they think they're in the clear, you know. And then, of course, it turns into McGonagall.
Right, it just leaps right off the desk.
Yeah, exactly.
This has nothing to do with anything, but I shared it on the Facebook page, so I have to bring it up. But the comic strip about the Slytherin girl that's petting the cat, like, who's the cutest little pud, and then it transforms into McGonagall, and she's just walking away with, like, chin up in the air, haughty look on her face. I'm the best little pud.
McGonagall is the best little pud.
That's
obvious
amazing.
fact.
Cracked me up. Anywho.
How often do you think she does that just because she wants a belly rub? McGonagall. How can she, like, just transforms?
Oh, man, my belly itches. I could use a good back scratch. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna...
Yeah.
I mean, if I could turn into a cat, I would probably do that.
If I could transform into a cat, I'd die.
Maybe you wouldn't be allergic then.
Ooh, that'd be...
How awful would it be to be allergic to yourself?
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if I am.
That could be why she sounds like this right now.
Maybe.
Let's just keep rolling. So yeah, the whole cat leaping off the desk and turning into Professor McGonagall did not happen in the books.
Yeah.
They don't even find out. Like, she doesn't even say anything about being
An
able to
animagus.
do that.
Yeah.
Until a later book. And so we'll talk about that more then.
Yeah.
She did show them some magic, though. As a demonstration, she turned the desk into a pig and back.
Yeah.
They got really excited, and then they were like, we are not going to be able to do anything that advanced for a long time. And then she
Yeah.
gives them all, like,
The
matches that they have to turn into needles, and Hermione is literally the only one who can change it. And they don't even say that she turned it into a needle, just that it went silver and pointy.
It was the closest, yeah.
So, must be challenging if Hermione couldn't do it on day one.
Right, obviously.
Clearly.
Clearly.
We
need to stop doing that.
We really do. The book also included a lot more descriptions of the other classes that they had.
Yeah.
So we got to hear the other teachers and what they taught. Even little bits of what went on in their classroom.
Yeah.
For some of them.
Yeah, tiny little snippets.
Yeah.
Kind of. Mm-hmm.
But the movie only shows a bit of transfiguration and potions.
Yeah. But the book to movie scene for potions definitely had some elements spot on, though. Like, in both, Snape singles out Malfoy as his favorite. Like he gives him that pointed look.
Yeah, he gives him the look, and in the
Yeah.
book, he's like the only one that he compliments.
Yeah. Yeah, he's, and Snape kind of, or not Snape, but Malfoy is kind of like, teacher likes me, teacher likes me.
Yeah, Nazi von douchebag the second.
Yeah. And, so that stayed pretty true. And then also he asked, Harry the difficult questions that
Harry didn't know.
That there's no reason Harry should have even known them.
I mean, if he was Hermione, apparently he would have.
Obviously, well, Hermione's a special kind of extra.
I'm grinning.
Also, you're Hermione.
I don't know that I would have known that. I've not ever gone as far as to memorize my course books.
I mean, well, think about if you found out you actually got to.
If I got to Hogwarts,
magic.
I would 100% memorize all of the course books.
Yes,
Who
that's
am I
what I'm
kidding?
saying. Like, I don't think we're joking anybody here. I'm surprised Harry doesn't, kind of. You'd think he would be so
read them.
excited. He did, but you'd think he'd be so excited he would, like, know more.
I think he was still in a state of disbelief.
Eh.
Like, I bought these books, I have a wand. There's no way this is all real. Like, I don't think it would have sunk in until he actually started taking classes and started to learn to do magic.
And the
stuff.
wand started actually doing things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that, for sure.
So, back on track. We got Hermione trying to answer the question that Snape's asking Harry, and
Yeah.
in the book, Snape just starts asking him the questions just to be a dick.
Yeah.
But in the movie, he sees Harry taking notes and assumes he's not paying attention.
Yeah, even though, he's literally writing down everything that Snape says.
Like, word by word, he's writing what he says. Wouldn't it be funny if Harry's taking down what he's saying word for word, but not, like, really paying attention, so he ends up writing down, like,
all the scolding
not
and
pay
stuff.
attention.
Yeah.
Mr. Potter. Wait, that's me.
Yeah.
Because, like, they have Hermione nudge him so that he catches on.
Because he keeps writing and everything. Yeah.
I think that would have been funny.
I like that. Also, I mean, Harry has some bomb-ass handwriting.
Yeah. It was really neat. I don't know that he actually wrote that. I don't think that was Daniel Radcliffe's handwriting. I've never seen an 11-year-old be able to write like that.
Just keep rolling. Just keep on rolling with that.
Yeah, back to the scene. So, in the book, when Harry's unable to answer Snape's questions, he's just like, you should try Hermione. She seems to know. And he loses a point from Gryffindor for that.
Right, but in the film, it's a scene, but it's a deleted scene. They actually took it out where Snape comes down and, like, sits in front of Harry and tells him all the answers and all that. But, like, he's a dick about it.
Because he's Snape.
Because he's Snape, yeah. And meanwhile, Hermione, like, still kind of has her hand up. And
I feel like she's like, oh, but I knew that.
Yeah,
I wanted to answer it.
Exactly. And so Harry gives him some sass, and rightfully so, in my opinion. But Snape takes 5 points from Gryffindor for Harry's cheek.
For Harry's cheek. I really wish they hadn't deleted that scene.
I do too. Alan Rickman is just amazing in that scene, and who doesn't love sassy Harry?
First of all, Alan Rickman is amazing in, like, every scene.
Point.
Second of all, who doesn't love sassy Harry?
Yeah.
Oh, apparently the directors.
Apparently, the screenwriters.
I was actually kind of wondering if maybe Dan played Harry too sassy in it, because the movie had such a tendency of making him more polite. Like, remember when he first met Hagrid and Hagrid gives him the cake? In the book, Harry wants to say thank you, but instead accidentally says, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
And in the movie, he was just like, "Oh, thank you." And he's just super polite about it. We even talked about that in that episode.
Yeah, but when it's Hagrid, though, that's someone who's being nice to him and giving him a cake. This is Snape being a dick to him and making him look like a dumbass in front of all his, new classmates that he doesn't even know.
Right. Oh, I'm not saying that I would have made the same choice. I think the scene should have been left in, but having watched the deleted scene, it's kind of the only time he blows up at an adult until, like, I mean, he does more of that a little bit later when he becomes an angsty teenager and we see more of Caps Lock Harry.
Yeah.
But up until that point, he's always been really polite to adults. Even his aunt and uncle, he's very polite to them. He's not... So I'm wondering...
I mean, he's snarky to them, though. Even
Dudley, yeah, but less so his aunt and uncle at first.
I guess.
So I'm wondering if they were just like, no, we can't let him be this defiant.
See, I mean, and that's not for me to say because I didn't edit this, so I can't really tell you. But I wish they would have kept it in.
I wish so too.
Because I don't think he was being too sad. I think he was finally being faced with someone who hated him for like
no reason.
His aunt and uncle, he lived with that his whole life. He knew they were always dicks. But he comes into this class, he gets there on time, he's
just
taking
like,
notes.
"Hi, I just met you. What the fuck's your problem?"
Yeah, literally. Like, he just kind of, like, Snape lays into him, and he's like, "Fame isn't everything." And Harry's like, "Dude, I didn't even know I was famous till, like, a month ago, man.
Like, yeah,
the hell's wrong with you?"
Actually, I think this might make a really good Potter Pondering. I'd love to know what our listeners think.
About why they cut out that scene?
Yeah, about why they cut out that scene. Because it was fantastic. Like, first of all, if you guys haven't seen it, get yourself the Blu-ray or DVD or however old you are.
Yeah.
And
you'll probably be able to find it on YouTube.
Right, or look for it on YouTube.
Well, when they do, like, the Harry Potter marathons on, like, Freeform or whatever,
right.
they always do the extended.
We'll find it on YouTube and post it on our Facebook page.
Well.
And then you guys can see for yourself, if you haven't already, what the deleted scene was and what I'm talking about when I say that Harry may have been a little too harsh. And I don't personally think that he was. I think it fit what was going on, like Katie's been saying. But we'd love to know what you guys think about the situation and why it would have been removed. Were they just trying to save time, or did they take issue with Harry? The scene. I mean, obviously, there's no way they could have taken any issue with Snape because Alan Rickman is a gem and
he's a gift
do no wrong.
He's a gift to humanity,
right? Yes. But yeah, so let us know. We'll tag that on as one of our Potter Ponderings.
Yeah, sure.
Here's a fun fact for you guys.
Ooh.
So the potions that Snape is quizzing Harry about. Mm-hmm. He wants to know what you get when you add the powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood.
Yeah.
And asphodel is a type of lily, and wormwood means bitter sorrow.
Oh, shit. So you're saying that Snape was essentially, like, telling Harry that he regretted Lily's death. I mean, that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, kind of in code.
Yeah.
I think it was just one of those things where, as much as he holds a grudge against Harry, and we'll talk about that more as the series goes on, he obviously and something we learn as well in the future books, does have some form of a soft spot for him.
Yeah. And also...
but I don't think it was one of those things that, like, Snape is so gray. There's just... he's not bad and he's not good. And we'll talk way more about this as he starts doing things.
Yeah.
And later on when we get to, like, big things happening. But
also, side note, doesn't that potion actually... isn't that actually how you make the draft of living death?
Yeah, it's the draft of living death.
So really, I mean, it's J.K. If we go back to the root of all this, it's J.K. who was sitting there going, ooh, let's put Lily together with something that means bitter sorrow, and we'll make living death.
Yeah.
And that's, I kind of like that.
I'm 100% positive that J.K. Rowling did that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's just the kind of things that she does.
Oh, yeah. The way she throws all that stuff in there, I love it.
But yeah, so I thought like, I wonder if Harry ever figured that out. Like, I read that somewhere, but I wonder if, like,
I doubt it.
or, maybe Hermione knew. Maybe she figured it out. That's a Hermione kind of thing.
I guess.
So it would just be interesting to know if he ever did figure out what Snape was saying to him.
Yeah.
The very first thing he ever said to him, ultimately. Anyway, in the book, in addition to losing the point for his cheek, well, I guess they don't really say that in the book. It's not really for his cheek. That was a movie line. They do talk about cheek, though, in the books, too. But in addition to that point, he loses another point when Neville accidentally melts his cauldron. And Snape is full on just like, why didn't you tell him not to add the quills before doing whatever it was?
Because Harry's supposed to just know.
Right. He's just like, you thought it'd make you look good. And Harry's just there like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I'm working on my own potion. I was taking notes.
Yeah. Talk about a bad first day. I'm just saying, that has to suck.
I mean, there's a reason why he described that class as the worst. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And that scene was completely omitted from the film. They didn't even make any potions.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, they just...
in the movie.
They just had, like, the introduction to the teachers, and then this is potions. Bye. Like,
yeah.
There was no actual learning happening on syllabus day, apparently.
No. But I mean, did we really need to see them make stuff?
It would have been kind of fun to see Neville's cauldron melt.
Well, yeah. It's always fun to see
It would have
Neville
been fun to see more of that interaction. I mean, they already cut out the bulk of it. Like, all we got was him bullying him with questions. We didn't get the, like...
Yeah, but
did we need to see it? Yes, I think we did.
I would have liked to, don't get me wrong.
I'm just saying, I think we needed it.
Do not get me wrong, I'm just saying for the sake
I think my life is not complete without it.
Well, I'm sorry your life is not complete then.
Anywho.
Very sorry.
Anywho.
What about when they start the scene?
Oh my gosh, because in the book, they show up to go to class and the teacher's there.
Yeah.
But in the movie,
like, Snape, all the kids are sitting there and Snape just flounces in.
Snape totally flounces. His billowy entrance.
Yes. Yes, his billowy room.
Flounce.
Oh my god.
But what my issue with that is, first of all, what group of kids is going to be sitting nicely in their seats with no teacher in the room? I am a teacher. I'm telling you, I call bullshit. That does not happen. It just doesn't happen. You leave kids unattended in a room. Like, I can step outside of my door, having been in there and gotten them on track. I can step outside of my door for 2 seconds to say something to the teacher in the classroom next to me. And when I come back in the room, 27 of them are out of their seats. And there's only 25 in the class. So I don't even know how that happens.
It's okay, don't worry, sweetie. You're in a safe place now.
Am I, though? I might get sick.
But then you'll have a sexy voice like mine.
Ooh. I do want a sexy voice like
everybody.
No, I can't do it. I
voice.
just sounded creepy when I tried to do that. So
there's a lot of things.
We're just gonna
keep
on rolling. I think the biggest difference between the book and the movie chapter and scene is that the movie completely omitted Harry and Ron getting tea with Hagrid.
Yeah, that wasn't even there at all.
Harry had been looking forward to that all day. Like, they said that in the book, that he was so glad that he had tea with Hagrid to look forward to because potions sucked so much.
Yeah. Which sometimes you need that during the day.
Yeah.
You just
you
need something to get
look
you
forward
through.
to. Like, this podcast is for me. Sometimes my day just sucks so much that I'm just like, at least I'm meeting up with Kayde and we're going to talk Harry Potter after this.
Yeah.
And
the movie replaces it with a scene in the Great Hall, actually, where they're all like, it seems like they're studying or whatever, and the mail comes. And Seamus is sitting there trying to turn water into rum, which, I mean, aside from the logistics of it, it's just, why would you try and do that when, like, a teacher could come up and be like, what the fuck are you trying to make alcohol for, kid? You're 11.
yeah, why would an 11-year-old want rum?
Why? I mean, 11-year-olds want what they can't have, but this is weird.
Who taught him that poem? Why rum? He's Irish.
So you're saying it's wrong because he didn't ask for whiskey?
Right.
Well, what rhymes with whiskey?
Risky.
Risky.
Yep, risky. Like Seamus trying to do the spell.
Yeah, totally blows up in his face, literally.
Even the fruit is scorched.
Right. Do accents get in the way of spellcasting? Like, do you remember when Alexa was first, like, a big thing, and Siri, and all the Scottish people were complaining that Siri couldn't understand them because of their accent?
Huh.
Would that be a thing in spellcasting, you think?
Maybe this should be a pondering too.
Maybe, because it's like, he's already hard to understand.
Yeah, he's hard to understand. I honestly did not know what he said until we looked it up to make sure we had it right for this episode.
Yeah. Eye of rabbit, harpstring hum, turn this water into rum.
Into Rome. Yeah, this didn't happen in the book because they were at Hagrid's and that's where the scene ended.
Yeah, but it was good comic relief. They kind of throw Seamus blowing shit up all over.
Yeah, we're gonna have to point out all of the times that Seamus blows things up as we go through this.
Right.
Along with all of the times that Hermione steals lines.
Do we have time for all of that?
It's our podcast. We can make it as long as we want.
True.
Unlike the movies, who felt the need to streamline everything, like this scene. Because in the book, like I was saying, he was in Hagrid's hut for tea with Ron, and that's where he found the newspaper and read about the break-in in Gringotts.
Yeah, because in the movie, he borrows Ron's newspaper.
Right.
And it's spelled out for him that it's Vault 713. The break-in is done.
Right, because in the book, Harry is just speculating and Hagrid won't look him in the eye and give him a straight answer.
Yeah, exactly. Was 713, was it emptied because they knew someone would try to break in? That should be our Potter Pondering.
Yeah, that's a good one, too. Because did Dumbledore know? Why would he have sent him to empty it?
Yeah. And what good timing on sending Hagrid to empty it on... on the day that it gets broken into? Or
did he... there's a lot that I have to wonder if he knew. We'll talk more about it when we get later in this book.
Right.
But the scene in the movie also shows when Neville gets his Remember-All, even though it doesn't happen until the next chapter. But because it ties it in with Harry learning about
the Gringotts
break-in, we had to kind of mush this together. And like we said, it's not always going to line up perfectly.
It's not an exact science,
so
guys.
we're going to talk more about this next episode, too.
Yeah. I do want to mention, though, that Neville says he can't remember what he's forgotten. And I don't know if you noticed this, but at the time, he's the only wizard in the Great Hall that doesn't have his robes on.
He forgot his robes.
He forgot them. Also, I love his little accent. He sounds like the fifth Beatle.
His accent.
I just love him. I can't remember what I've forgotten. He just sounds like a little Paul McCartney.
Sort of a Beatle-like. So this brings us to where we get to talk about the actors. We already talked about Alan Rickman as Snape in our last episode. Yeah. But now he really had his moment of the beginning of his moments. Yeah. But even though some of the best part of it did occur in a deleted scene, we got to see him flounce.
Yeah, billow.
His billowy entrance.
Yes.
And his drawn out pronunciation of words that just kind of leaves you hanging on the edge of your seat.
Oh, I know. New celebrity.
Oh, I love everything that he does. And we've said it before, but there's literally nobody else that could have played Snape.
Yeah.
There's just
Exactly.
nobody could have done it as he did.
Yeah. Have you seen that comic of it's like comparing the book to the movie, like what it should have been and then what it actually was in the books?
I'm smiling because I have
Yeah,
seen
or what
this
it was in
comic.
the movie. So it's like Harry is supposed to have messy hair and is supposed to be gangly and scrawny, and then there's handsome Daniel Radcliffe, and Hermione is supposed to have frizzy hair and buck teeth, and then there's adorable Emma Watson, and then Snape is just Alan Rickman.
Right?
It's both is
Just
just
motherfucking Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
And as much as we've been like nicknaming the nastier characters with names to go along with their personalities, I can't. Like Snape is just already. He's just Snape, and it's just if you call someone a Snape, you know that
They're a dick.
they're a dick. It just
Yeah.
he just is what he is. He's Snape, and so he's probably not gonna get a nickname from us unless we feel particularly clever or creative one day. This is
Yeah.
not the day. At this moment, we just cannot top the name Snape.
Yeah. It's just you
Just
can't.
like nobody would be able to top the portrayal of Snape by Alan Rickman.
So basically what we're saying is, as a sign of respect, we're leaving Snape as Snape.
Snape is Snape.
But let's move on to
Just keep rolling.
Let's keep rolling. And move on to Devin Murray we met as Seamus Finnegan. And I love him. I love little Seamus. He's my little Irish boy. He's adorable. And he's just so funny. He really is. He has some great facial expressions. And they cut out some of his
Yeah.
funnier lines, but
No, I thought, like, the whole bit that they start with him blowing things up, like, obviously this was the first instance that we got to see of it, but we will point out the other ones, because it continues.
yeah.
And,
It's a theme.
yeah, and he just had, like, the cutest face for getting it all sooty and messing up his hair to look like he's been through the explosions. And,
Right, yeah.
And that accent. Even though I could not understand what the spell was, it was just... I like your question about if accents affect spell casting.
Yeah.
Because it could be like, maybe that's why the spell blew up. Or it could just be maybe because he was saying a poem and it was like...
Not a spell.
like,
Yeah.
not a spell, like Ron and his scabbers turning yellow
yeah,
spell. Like,
exactly.
I don't know that poems are spells, but
I mean,
who
yeah.
knows why it blew up. It was funny. And he did a great job with those scenes,
He did. And he's Irish.
which is definitely a plus.
In my book, definitely.
Yes,
for
absolutely. And the last actor that we met in this scene was Alfred Enoch as Dean Thomas, the one-line wonder.
Sure. Look, Neville's gonna remember all.
He had more to say in
In the book.
In the
yes.
books, and-
yeah. But
but-
in almost every movie, he's only given one line.
yeah. So we'll point those out as well. The one-line wonder.
Yeah.
But
poor Dean Thomas. He was sweet.
I liked him. I thought he was adorable, and I
Yeah.
think he fit the role. Like he looked like I imagined
Right.
in him and Seamus. Like you couldn't have one without the other.
Right.
So.
And he's a pretty good actor now. He's done a lot of stuff. He's been in a couple different episodes. I think he was in Sherlock. He was in a stage play now that looks really good, and yeah, he's a really good actor.
Kayde whipping out the Alfred Enoch trivia
Right,
because
randomness.
we put him under my color to talk about, and I apparently didn't know any of that. Other than the fact that I liked him as Dean Thomas and wish that they could have given him more to do.
I just happen to notice him when I see him in things, I guess. I'm like, oh, look, Dean Thomas.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, a lot of times I'll see the Harry Potter actors in other things and still refer to them as
Yeah. Oh,
their
yeah,
Harry Potter character.
for sure. So that brings us to our Potter Ponderings this week. Was Vault 713 emptied because they knew that someone would try to break in?
And also, why do you think they cut out the potion scene in the movie when we got to see Harry be sassy towards Snape? Why did they? I think it was a mistake.
I would like to hope so.
Let us know what you think. We're going to have these posted up on Facebook and Twitter before the episode is even up. So by the time you hear this, go look for them. They'll be there. Next up comes the Sorting Hat story.
Who do we have this week?
This week, our Sorting Hat story features Dave Garza. He says, I'm 51 years old, a Hufflepuff, with a pearwood wand with a unicorn hair core, 10 3/4 inches, and slightly yielding flexibility. My Patronus is a dapple gray mare. In the early 2000s, I had a head injury that limited a lot of what I could do physically. I ended up watching a lot of TV. In about 2005, I started watching the first few Harry Potter movies on cable TV, and by 2006 saw the first 4 films over and over as they were replayed on TV. My head injury kept me from going to the movie theater, so I found myself anxiously awaiting when the Order of Phoenix would make it to TV in probably another year or so. I decided I couldn't wait for the movies to get on TV to find out what happened, so I decided to read the books. I started from book 1 and was amazed and captivated by how much more the books contained than the movies did, and immediately knew I liked book Dumbledore way better than movie Dumbledore. Thank you, Dave. I was hooked. I finished each book in just a few days. Not knowing much about the series itself, I simply read each book when I finished the previous one and didn't really pay attention to how many were left. You can imagine my shock and horror in finishing book 6 and finding out that the 7th book had not even been released yet. Merlin's beard. Torture, I tell you. Torture. A year later, Deathly Hallows finally came out, and I think I only put it down to sleep. I don't believe I ate anything for the few days it took me to finish it. The Order of the Phoenix made it to TV later that year, and I patiently awaited all the films to come out the following years, going back to reread all the books between each film's release. Having not read the books again in recent years, I find I am way more familiar with the movies than the books, and love hearing you ladies point out and discuss the differences between them.
Aw, thanks, Dave.
Yeah,
That's
thanks,
so nice.
Dave. And also, Dave is the closest thing to a wizard that I know. He is actually a professional magician. And I'm convinced that he knows just enough sleight of hand to mask the fact that he's really magic. So, so glad that he's been listening to our podcast and being part of this magical world, because he just brings a little bit more magic to it himself.
Well, that brings us to this week's trivia question. In the book, not the movie, what class does McGonagall pull Oliver Wood out of?
Bonus points if you can tell us what class he was in for the movie, too.
Yeah. If you know the answer, head to our Facebook page at JKR Podcast and find the post. Comment under the post with the answer and the code word Quidditch. The prize for the first one who responds with the correct answer and the code word will get a Bitch is a Witch, Motherfucker's a Wizard, or a Just Keep Rolling sticker.
Another way to get a sticker is to rate and review us. If you are an Apple person, you can do it through the Apple Podcasts or iTunes app. If you don't have Apple, you can write a recommendation on our Facebook page. Then email us at justkeeprolling@gmail.com to let us know you did, and we will get back to you to figure out which sticker you want and where to send it.
Yeah, and don't forget to find us and follow us on Facebook at JKR Podcast and Twitter and Instagram at Just Keep Rolling.
This week we have some shout-outs.
We do. The first one is my cousin, who's an awesome guy, let me tell you, Scott Freeman. He not only composed our theme song,
Which is so perfect.
right? He did it he did it so long ago, and I had him listen to it lately, and he was like, I did that in like a not good way,
We love it, Scott.
but we love it. It's amazing to me. I still have it on my iPod, and I listen to it regularly.
And now you guys get to hear it every week.
Right? Fun times. But not only did he do that, he also created a website for us.
So now you guys can go to justkeeprolling.com and check out all of the stuff that we're going to have up there. It's still under construction right now.
Yeah, it's in the works.
We need to customize things, and this is where we're going to put the store that we are working on putting together. So, But we knew it was something we were going to have to do eventually, and
now it's done.
now it's done, and he's amazing for that. Like, we can't thank you enough, Scott.
Right? We really appreciate it.
Katie, I got to ask, what happened to your voice? It's fixed.
I know, it's magic. It's crazy how things work.
When you take a week off of recording and come back and add an insert in.
Yay, health! I'm super stoked. But that'll bring us to shout out number 2 this week. And that goes to Justin Reynolds, who just became our second patron on patreon.com.
Not only is he a patron, he is an Order of Merlin first class patron.
Fancy!
Right? Because we have multiple tiers. Depending on which one you sign up for, gets you different perks.
Yeah. And if you would like to join us in that journey and become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/justkeeprolling. As always, any support you can give is appreciated.
Definitely. We are trying to put together our merchandise store, which I've been working on t-shirt designs for, and I just recently posted the pictures of my conceptual designs for what we're hoping to get to. We have mugs and scarves that are in the works as well. So
Yes.
any way you can help would be wonderful. That brings us to the very end of this, where I say,
Yes, it does.
join us next week when we talk about Chapter 9, The Midnight Duel, and the corresponding movie scenes.
Thanks for listening. We hope you hear us again. I'm Kayde.
I'm Ellen. Until the next time, just keep rolling.